Hi, my name is April. Let's talk about books. Today I want to talk to you about what I've read between August 6th and August 13th of 2017. School started this week, so I've lost all of my free time, so I didn't get a lot of reading done, but here's what I did manage. The first thing that I did was DNF a book, and that book was The Magicians by Lev Grossman. Now, full disclosure, I am a Harry Potter girl. I have read all of the books multiple times, and I usually do read them about every 2 years or so again. This book, which is the first of a trilogy, was sold to me as Harry Potter, but in college. I did not find that to be true. I didn't really enjoy this book. After about 3 chapters, I admitted to myself that it was more like a chore to read than any kind of enjoyment. So I decided to put it aside in favor of a book that I might like. And that book was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Krista at Books and Jams is hosting a read-along for this book on Goodreads during the month of August. It's been a long time since I've read a classic, and I've never read any du Maurier, so I was really excited to dive right into this. I pulled this book from our school library, and as I did, another teacher caught me by the arm and told me that this was in her top 10 books of all time. So I was further excited to read it. I can't really say a lot about it because of spoilers, but here are some basics. An unnamed narrator, a young woman, meets Maxim de Winter, a recent widower in Monte Carlo. After spending about 2 weeks together, she decides she loves him and they get married. He takes her back to his home estate, Manderley. His previous wife's name was Rebecca, and her spirit is still kind of all over the estate. Not in a ghost-like way, but like people still talk about her a lot. Especially the hideous housekeeper whose name is Mrs. Danvers, who apparently looks a little bit something like a skeleton. Mrs. Danvers is mean. And then there's another creepy guy that comes around only when Maxim's not there, and his name is Mr. Favell. And he always goes and he talks to Mrs. Danvers. So that's about what I can tell you. I would read a little bit of this book every night and then go to my teacher friend in the morning and float some theories past her. Here are some of those theories in no particular order. Rebecca is not dead. The narrator is Rebecca. Maxim killed Rebecca. Rebecca is Mrs. Danvers, but she has a horrible wasting disease. Rebecca is Mr. Favell, because why not? Rebecca was a really bad lady. Rebecca lives at Manderley secretly. The narrator killed Rebecca. Now I will say that each of these seemed legitimate at the time in which I thought them up, but fortunately my friend did not give anything away, and here, please enjoy a series of facial expressions that I had as I was reading this book. This is the closest you're going to get to a spoilery summary from me. So there you go, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. The next book that I was reading is called The Monuments Men, and it is by Robert M. Edsel with Brett Witter, and this was an audiobook read by Jeremy Davidson. Now, I go out running or walking during the week, and since I run very slowly, that's how I finish so many audiobooks, but I have to say this audiobook was not really grabbing me a lot, and it's not because of the book itself, it's not because of the content, it's more because for me, it doesn't seem suited for listening. There are a lot of names given, a lot of locations, and I would keep getting lost in those things. The narrator, Jeremy Davidson, is terrific. But this is a book that I'm just going to DNF as an audiobook and maybe pick up in actual book form later, because I find the premise really interesting. It is nonfiction. The subtitle of it is Allied Heroes, Nazi Thieves, and the Greatest Treasure Hunt in History. And one of the classes I teach has a little series or a little unit on art history. And so one of the things that we do talk about is how Nazis confiscated people's artworks and stole them and hid them, and then sometimes they are recovered. And so I was really interested in it because of that. And like I said, it's not really meant for an audiobook for me. The final book that I read this week, though, that was a pretty quick read, and it was Kindred by Octavia Butler. This is a book written in 1976, and it's apparently a science fiction classic, which I didn't know. In this book, an African-American woman named Dana is kind of sucked back through time from 1976 to protect this little white boy whose name is Rufus, and he lives in 1815. Now, Rufus is actually part of Dana's ancestry. He's maybe her great ×4 grandfather, and he is part of her ancestry because he raped one of her slaves. Not in 1815, though. He was probably about 8 right then. But throughout Rufus's life, he will find himself in trouble, and somehow or other he's able to kind of draw Dana back in time to offer protection for him. And so when she, though, feels as though her life is in danger, that is the catalyst for pushing her back to 1976. So as Rufus grows up and becomes sort of more entrenched in the slave-owning mindset and lifestyle, where he's definitely part of these generations who have an ideology of racial superiority, she is trying to, every time she is drawn back in time, she tries to talk to him about how, you know, your slaves are actually people and how can you treat them this way? And he doesn't really seem to learn his lesson at all. So I felt like the parts where slavery is portrayed was probably pretty accurate. Because they were horrifying, and because the slaves were treated as though they had no feelings. Of course, they were treated as though they had no rights. She does also make mention of the idea that it's pretty easy to kind of slip into into the mindset of being a slave, and that's something that I struggle with. And when I was teaching history, I had to explain to my students quite often is that, like, these people's lives were literally on the line at all times. And if you did one thing wrong, it might not be just yourself that got hurt, but your family members and other people whom you weren't even related to. And so every day was just a matter of simple survival, and you make a lot of compromises with yourself in order to keep on living. So in that sense, the book was a success for me in just kind of bringing that home and clarifying it for me. But I mean, frankly, I live in the 21st century, and I don't think people who own slaves deserve empathy. So that's where I'm at, and that's where I'm coming from, and how I kind of feel about this book and whether or not I like it. But if you have read Kindred and have some insight into that, or if you've read Rebecca and you want to talk to me about what happened in that book too, let me know in the comments down below. And goodbyes are always awkward, so end of video.